Good morning, everybody. How is everybody this morning?
Marcus? Hello.
Not high enough.
Good morning.
Not high enough. Okay, you're all live, by the way. Say hello, to everybody.
Is anybody really high enough to deal with a full-on revolution? Come on.
No, not really. How is it possible? You know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, good morning.
I don't see anybody in chat, so I'm going to work on that while you guys go with the show, because we should be going 5 by 5, and we're not. We're going 5 by nothing. But the stream is showing up, so say hi.
5 by 5 in the pipe.
5 by nothing.
It's game over, man. All right, so Marcus, I'm going to go finish my coffee, and I'll be right back. But talk about
promised.
This is the biggest Antifa attack day in history, right?
Okay. Get your Antifa coffee, man.
Yeah.
Say hi to everybody out there at Rockfin, Marcus.
Yeah, hello Rockfin, and nice that you tune in and watch us or listen to us. And yeah, we are no joke, and we are talking about politics and all the other crazy stuff which is going on in the world. And yeah, usually we first of all, I would like to introduce a panel. Of course, you just heard John, who is on the way to the kitchen to get his coffee. We have Amos with us. Amos from New Jersey. John is living in California. And we have Oz with us in Washington State. And as usually, I would like to start with my hosts. And I would like to ask Amos how he feels, how he is, and how the situation is. Amos.
Well, everything's the same pretty much as it was a few days ago. We've had some protest here. I've participated in one so far. That's about it. I'm still healthy as far as I know.
Yeah, that's good news. And Oz, how you doing?
I'm doing great, but I'm still recovering from those cops up in New York, Amos. Did you see those guys knock that 75-year-old man down and watch the blood come out of his ears?
Yeah.
That finished me off. I mean, I have that was the last straw for me. So.
Yeah, and well, John is doing all right, as you can see. You know, he has still enough power to get his coffee. We all, I guess, those who are not still high enough, you know, to consume what's going on, especially in America. And Oz just mentioned it. There are things showing up on in the media, on YouTube. It is crazy, and well, it. Honestly, you know, John, if you follow our show for a longer time, then you know that John and I were very often in a discussion about, and we often compared, you know, in how far the situation is or was in America comparable to Nazi Germany. But honestly, what I'm now seeing of your police is an exact copy of what we saw during the Nazi regime with the SA, the brown shirts. Yes. It is absolutely the fucking same. I'm sorry, I gotta use this expression, you know, for those who are not used to this yet. But I think there is nothing else to describe the situation there. This is horrifying, you know. And if you see what's going on in the world right now, in so many cities, in so many countries, people are protesting against. We will see a little bit of this later on the show. It is absolutely crazy. And then it comes to the following thing, that today, if you're looking back in history, which is also a regular part of our shows, today in history is the D-Day. And Oz has got some slides ready for us. And if you look at those pictures, right, and if you think back, and I'm talking to you Americans, you know, and I guess a lot of you guys have history with this or have ancestors who had to deal with what's going on there. And then think, there is Trump, who is now explaining the American people that someone who's standing up against fascism is labeled as a terrorist. And your ancestors, you came to Europe, you freed Germany from the Nazis. You helped to free Germany from the Nazis, and well, I only can put it like this: it is somehow for those people who are buying this bullshit from Trump. Isn't it like a little bit like pissing on your grandfather's graves? Um, well, and now look at this. In 1933, Adolf Hitler took over. And now, imagine if at the same time was Donald Trump your president. How would the world look today? We all know that Trump is a deep admirer of dictators and of people, who demand the total power for themselves. Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and the Brazil leader Bolsonaro. And well, it could be completely different today, And well, again, what I'm seeing now today is in the streets of America, where the First Amendment is so importantly, it leaves me speechless. And if you see a little bit earlier today, I watched a video. It was from MSNBC. Yes, sometimes I gotta watch clips from them. There I see a Chris Hayes who is doing 2 segments exactly on this, and even a bored mainstream guy like Chris Hayes, is enraged. I don't know in how far it is honest. This is another thingy. In how far it is media tactics, but well, it is crazy. It is absolute crazy, And and especially at this day, what we are seeing in the US and what we saw at the end of the World War II. Well, maybe it was a big mistake, and oops, we were wrong with the wrong leader at that time. Yeah. Well, another interesting date in history was Edward Snowden in 2007. He came out. This is the next historic date with the NSA leak, and we learned a lot about what we assumed was happening, but we had no proof. And he delivered the proof that those people who tell us what to do know exactly what we are doing. And we will see this a little bit later. There's one incident with seized masks, and everyone is a glassy person, and this makes it also so difficult to start a revolution, and to stand up against this, because they will use everything they got against anything which would endanger this. Oz mentioned it at the beginning when he was talking about the incident in Buffalo with the 75-year-old man who was pushed away, and they didn't give a fuck about him. And then I saw yesterday in the evening, and this shows everything. And in my opinion, sorry if this segment takes a little bit longer, but in my opinion, this says everything. When you see that 57 officers resigned from a special unit there, protesting the suspension of the 2 guys who pushed the old man away, it shows that every kneeling from cops, every photo op with them, I think it is a big fat lie you should not buy. Well, it shows exactly that they feel no guilt in it, that they still think it will get peaceful, that people will get they swallow this in a couple of weeks what's going on, and they can go on like this. They show absolutely no accountability, and it's terrible today. And and saying this, I would like to go over to John and to his segment.
My segment? Hi, everybody. Hang on a second. Audio just seems high. I'm not quite high enough, like Marcus mentioned earlier, to deal with this. I've been really involved with the Shahid Buttar campaign, actually, and looking at the police brutality from his perspective, and where we're at with the complete failure of our government, really across the board. And anybody that was arguing and tone policing those of us who were saying we were marching towards Nazi Germany several years ago needs to shut the fuck up, right? Because here we are, and I don't know how much more clear it needs to be. The difference is, I just want to say, between what we're doing today and what happened in Nazi Germany, I think, is that the people today, we're a little bit more aware, and I don't think we're going to let the government go all the way towards full-on Hitler. There's definitely going to be a revolution that is occurring right now to stop that. And that revolution operates from a bunch of facets, right? I mean, we've got democracy dying, but we've got people in office, running in office, trying to make change, right? We have the revolution on the streets. We have organizations that are trying peaceful protests. We have other folks trying direct actions. We have folks like us trying to bring media to the attention of those everywhere that, don't understand what's going on or are confused. All of these are tactics. It reminds me of D-Day, which was a massive operation that included many tactics, many of which failed. All right. D-Day wasn't one glorious fucking successful thing where everything that was applied to it worked. That's not the case. Just like the solution for the Great Depression, FDR, and the Works Progress Administration and everything he did with the New Deal, right? There were a lot of failures in that program too. All right. We did a bunch of stuff to try to change the nation. We did a bunch of great stuff, but there were also some failures in that. So we've got to recognize in this country, first of all, that we can actually fail and that we do actually fail. I think Americans have been raised with this exceptionalism that we don't fail. And if we get mad at the failure, then we just blow it up. And that attitude of violence has just been carried out throughout our history. And I don't know why we don't remember that. It's because we don't control the narrative. But we need to change a bunch of stuff. And we're doing that. It's a revolution and it's going to take a long time. And we probably don't have that much time. Climate change is already bearing down on us pretty fucking hard this year. And waiting to see that play out in the United States. So those are all really positive things. I know. This is revolution. Don't mistake anything else. This is not like the precursor to, this is not, just peaceful protest. This isn't a small incursion between police and human. This is revolution. So every day is a new day, and where it goes is up to us, not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders left the fucking race, right? Bernie Sanders is fucking working for Joe Biden, right? It's up to us and our individual organizations to get our shit together and to dismantle the government that is fucking us. And that includes people at lower levels, middle levels, and higher levels. But it's going to be easier if we start with the lower levels. Right? So that's where we're at. Let's stop it before we reach full police state dictatorship, where, I mean, look at what New York did. I don't know if the scariest thing of all the things, the brutality has been horrible, but the scariest of all the things has been the New York, was it New York State? Maybe it's New York City. We're basically bypassing habeas corpus, allowing police to detain people for any number of time. Right? Normally it's, you arrested for a protest, 24 hours, kick out. Now it's, we can detain you indefinitely. That's called setting up camps for your citizens. Okay. So we're on our way to just being detained. Show me your papers. I don't have any papers. Fuck you. You're going to prison. Right? We're there, folks. We're there in New York City. If we don't put a hard stop to this bullshit now, we're all going to be walking around scared to death. Okay. So we need to put a stop to this now. By whatever means, whatever you think you need to do, right? And that's what we're doing. So I've got a piece from Shahid Buttar talking about how the police got militarized. We can run it now. We can run it later. It's brilliant words. It's brilliant words. All right. Shahid was on Marianne Williamson. She did an amazing job. If you watch the whole interview, it's fucking A. I mean, she actually asked great questions. She brought on guests. They asked good questions. They had a good conversation. Yeah. She got his name right. She got his website right. So thank you, Marianne Williamson, for doing that. Please watch the full interview, but listen to this question from Gloria Berry, who is a California SCC member, formerly had something to do with working to get de-escalation happening in San Francisco. And she's got an amazing question for Shahid. This is the piece. Thank you.
When I worked at San Quentin, once someone who was involved in an incident and the handcuffs were applied, the situation was deemed over. Why do you think murderer Derek Chauvin, who killed George Floyd, and his 3 cronies felt so comfortable to commit murder for 9 minutes, knowing it was videoed? And why hasn't anything been done on the federal level to send police a clear message that this is despicable?
It's basically because the law invites predation. And I would trace it back to a historical root. And I want to sketch out where militarized policing started and where we got these kinds of impetuses towards murder in slow motion in broad daylight. People forget that mass incarceration and militarized police in the United States started with the war on drugs, particularly in the 90s. And at the time we didn't know, though it subsequently was admitted by the CIA that the agency was running crack cocaine into LA and Miami to fund its rogue foreign policy and human rights abuses abroad. So what was the result when cops started dying in US streets, gunned down by narco traffickers, armed, trained, and equipped by the CIA? We militarized the American police departments. The militarization of police is a misguided response to the abuses of the Central Intelligence Agency. And the idea here that we have misdirected the response and what we have done in response to the CIA's abuses is jail millions of Americans of dark persuasion and subject millions of others to the insecurity of not knowing if they're going to make it home at night. It compounds the travesty, right? And I think the reason why we see police feel this impunity is because even at the institutional level, there has been total impunity. No one ever paid a price for that. No one ever paid a price for the millions of dreams that have been taken from us. I mean, the people, if you consider the damage of the war on drugs internationally over the last generation, it's incalculable. And it was entirely a contrivance of our own domestic agencies' criminality around the world. And I think
this whole law and order thing was completely made up.
And impunity is the rule. I think that's what cops have internalized. If you have a badge, you can do what you want. And that's a message that's been sustained and reinforced by every example, every instance of a prosecutor turning a deaf ear to the concerns of a community after somebody died. Every time we say their names when the cops weren't held responsible, every time, every one of those incidents reinforces and emboldens that sense of an ability to prey on the public that they swear an oath to swear and protect. I think if cops came from the community, if we had laws in place that hold them accountable for their abuses, and if we defunded police departments that didn't respect human rights, I think we'd see very different behavior from police. And if we don't see the behavior from police, I think we should be firing police officers. There's another piece here, maybe just to note. The labor movement in the country has really suffered very dramatically. It is striking,
very dramatically,
right? The strongest unions around the country are police unions in almost every.
But they're not what you normally. They're not behaving ways that you normally associate with unions. They seem, if anybody's been infiltrated, there's something sinister going on there.
Well, and that's my point precisely, that police unions and the role that they play is so antithetical to the labor movement generally, and so reinforcing of, frankly, this fascist dynamic. I mean, I saw the police union here in San Francisco hyper politicized, coming out, sending, misinformation in the mail about candidates to be the DA. And I think it's really silly that we allow police to flex political influence when they're already killing people in the streets. Like, is that not enough?
Is that not enough? Is it not enough? It should be. I mean, it's a valid question. We got a lot of reform to do. Restorative justice is going to be the answer, no matter how angry we all are at cops right now. We have to have a restorative justice solution. But right now, positions are reversed, in my view. Restorative justice means that you have a victim, you have the offender, and you have the community, a representative from the community, that all work together to make sure that the victim is compensated in whatever way they feel is okay, right? Doesn't mean you're sending the offender to prison. It means the offender has to do something to right the wrong. And the community helps that offender right their wrong so that the offender can be reintegrated into society, not as a monster, not as a bad person, not as an offender, just as a regular person, okay? You took care of your problem. You made friends with the person you offended. everything's done. That's restorative justice. South Africa used restorative justice when they fixed their government. It took them 6 years of revolution, violent, horrible shit to change their government. They changed their government. They used restorative justice to bring peace. And now it's all fucked up again. But point being, for a while there, they had restorative justice and things were okay. And this is what we're going to have to do with cops. But the problem is police nationally are the offender. And so we have to bring in another. It's like, well, who's going to represent? We got the community, all of us. We have police, the offender. We're the victim. The government's supposed to be the non-partial third party, but they're actually part of the offense. They're working with the offenders. So we don't really have a third party to come in and help make this happen. So I don't know how we do that. But that's what's got to happen. Somehow we got to reintegrate these asshole cops into our society after they've undergone therapy, after they've been de-animalized, whatever it is. But somehow we can't just toss them all into prison and we're just like the fucking cops. We have to change the system, not just take the place of the current oppressor. And you got to kick some ass first. Dropped a great quote by Banksy, which if you show it on screen might be pertinent to today, but we can do it another time. I notice you Germans are getting pissed off. Thank you. I see that shot. Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to add something to what you said. The thing is, if you look at the numbers also, I think most importantly, the police should be defunded, demilitarized. If you look at, for example, at New York, I read a number which I could not believe. The New York Police Department pays $6 billion per annum, per year, for the police service. And I think a good part of this money should be invested in the communities. If in the last couple of days, I watched a lot of videos. We will show, I hope we have the time to show one of them a little bit later, about an activist, who is addressing, who is observing the police work. And there are some videos, where homeless people, in the public sitting on the streets. And of course, police comes and you can imagine those guys are not treated very well by them. And there I was asking myself, why does the police show up? And even if they show up, why is there no instance they have to inform which takes care of this man? Right? And this is exactly where the money should go. It should go into the communities. If you make the living of people easier, you will have less criminality, less crime in your community. And most importantly, if you see who is going to the police, it's a special part of the population. It's people who are not that high educated, and it's people who are coming from the military, and it's people who like weapons, who like to be bullies, and this affords, in my opinion, a kind of a psychological test if those guys are even qualified by their nature, by their personality, to do the service, right? And these are a lot of little components. And John is absolutely right when he says it's a long, long way to do all this, right? But I think these are one of the most important things which should be considered in this. And yes. I think we should go on. We will stay on the topic, but we are looking at Europe. We are looking at, for example, earlier today, my girlfriend attended with a group of her girlfriends a demonstration in Düsseldorf, in my hometown, and she sent us some very nice photos. And also you can click through them, please. We're in Düsseldorf, we're about more than 1,000 people participating. In Cologne, near the same number. The numbers were not that high because here in Germany, the cities in this area are very close together. But I guess in every major city, there were protests, there were demonstrations. I heard that in yesterday in Hamburg, they estimated 250 people to attend. In the end, it was 18 times more, about 4,500. Today, again, 10,000 were there. In Munich, 20,000, I heard. One demonstration had to be closed because there are so many people attending that they couldn't help upright the coronavirus rules anymore.
Wow.
So it is going around in the world right now. Nobody is closing their eyes anymore, and this also I had of course now what's happening. I had a lot of discussions also with my girlfriend and her experiences what racism concerns, and she's a little bit camera shy, but I will try to talk to someone else from her community about his experiences with this, and I will try to get this interview also in the upcoming weeks, because this guy is also very deep in this topic, as I heard, and he made up his mind for a long time all around this. And I'm very curious, for me as a German, to see, to hear from him how his living is here in Germany. And I think it could also be interesting for you guys in how far it is comparable to the US or even not, and in how far we have our own racism here in Germany and what their experiences are. And you got to be clear, we are talking a lot about America in these days, but we should not close our eyes about our own racism here right in our front doors. And what I read some tweets about it. There are some hashtags existing already where Black people can go and write about their experiences here in Germany. What I read in parts, it is horrifying. I never expected that this would be possible, and this is why I wanted to have a guest here in our show to talk about this as well. Okay, so there you can
Marcus,
see. Yes,
I'm
please.
curious how that plays out. I know there's protests in New Zealand and in Britain and so forth. But what is what would you say was the bias in Germany in terms of these protests? Is it out of solidarity with Americans, or is it more like seeing how that reflects in German society?
Well, this is a very good question, and I think everything is part of this. What's going on here in Germany? I see there are a lot of Germans are marching in solidarity, because they also cannot understand and they cannot digest what's going on in America. How people get treated there, and how openly the police violates the public, and there is also, and this is exactly where I think in Germany is a discussion about to start right now, in which Black people are also heard about their daily experiences with the racism here. And I think it is very important. And well, as I said, I talked a lot with Erica about it, and she also has her experiences with these concerns. But she also says it is also different if you're a Black woman here in Germany, or a Black man in Germany. And this is exactly the point why I wanted to talk to a Black man, And I also prepared a video about I think it was taken last week, about the first protest in London and Berlin. And also, if you can run it, please.
Is that the George Floyd protest rally in Berlin
and
London? Okay,
yes,
right.
London, Berlin,
right
exactly. Yes,
to
give you an impression what's going on here in Europe.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. Are there any numbers there, Marcus, about how many people are protesting in those places?
Not in this movie. It is only to show. There was no accompanying text which gave the numbers. We can only guess, but as you can see from the numbers in this at this weekend, they're also demonstrating in, of course, in other European countries, in London again, and so on in Paris. In Paris, the situation is a little bit different to what we are seeing here in Germany, because the French police is also considered to be very, very racist, and the protests are going much more deeper than going much more deeper than here in Germany, because the racism goes deeper in France, what the police there concerns.
Yeah, I just want to make an observation here for Americans so they can grasp what this is. Americans have never done this. We've never marched in support of anything going on over in Europe. All right? When you think about what's happening right now, this is hundreds, I don't know, tens of thousands, 100,000 folks around Europe. And the reason they're marching is because this is all connected. The racism is connected to the brutality, is connected to the systemic corruption, is connected to the corporate ownership of our governments, is connected to the climate crisis, is connected to all of our fucking survival. It's all connected, right? This is global revolt by citizens who are tired of shit government, because even German people have their own grievances with their government. Their government just happens to be in a little better shape, right?
But it's time to make awareness.
Exactly. And I think it goes, and I think it is a feeling which have many people deep inside themselves, that they see that we are living in times, and I think it's not something which appeared by this moment. I think it's a long time that people are sensing that this cannot go on, that something is deeply going wrong, you know, and they're sensing that there is something developing which, a turning point, if you want. So we don't know in what direction it might go, but I think it is what people put on the streets in those masses, what we're seeing here today in Europe, and also in the US, of course. Right? And it was quite interesting to see a little bit before it was, you could see that the people, you know, were standing there. They also were trying to keep the distances, you know, to follow the rules what the coronavirus concerns, you know. And this, of course, was from Germany, because we are we know how to follow orders. I'm joking. Yes, and this is a painting also in, I guess in Berlin, was it?
Yeah, nice. Understand, everybody, that these folks are, you know, at home because of COVID, but they're actually, you know, not starving or living on the streets or lacking for medical care. So they actually have the time to get out and protest. It's nice.
Yeah.
I want to read this quote by Banksy, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, of course, do it.
This is Banksy's statement today, and it's trending in social media. It's pretty cool. At first, I thought I should just shut up and listen to black people about this issue. But why would I do that? It's not their problem. It's mine. People of color are being failed by the system, the white system, like a broken pipe flooding the apartment of the people living downstairs. This faulty system is making their life a misery, but it's not their job to fix it. They can't. No one will let them in the apartment upstairs. This is a white problem. And if white people don't fix it, someone will have to come upstairs and kick the door in. That's what we're doing right now. I urge all white people in power to think about what they're doing right now, because millions of us can take you out. You are the 1%. Thank you, Banksy. I added that last part.
No, absolutely. I cannot say anything against it. It hits the nail, right?
We're done, right? We're done.
Yeah.
So
we are not. Unfortunately, we are not done yet. We have the same problem, and we have the same problem in New Jersey. And now Amos it's Amos' turn to tell us about his experiences there.
Yeah. You're muted.
You're muted, Amos, somehow?
Sorry about that. I joined the demonstration in Clifton, New Jersey, which I didn't know, but it happens to be the 25th most diverse town in the US. It's a few miles from me, so about 20 minutes drive. And it generally was a very peaceful protest. There was, as you can see from the pictures, a very mixed crowd. There were people there were Jews, there were white people, there were Asian people, Indian guys, from every segment of the population. So you really had a feeling of a camaraderie there, and it was appreciated by the organizers. It's of course it's difficult to maintain social distancing. I do expect that there's going to be a spike as a result, but there's a certain price that we need to pay in terms of other things to protest and to resist. And so there was one moment where we were to take a knee and there was a moment of silence that was 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That was the time that it took to snuff out Floyd's life. And during that time, somebody drove by and yelled from the street, "Violence is not the answer," trying to rile up the crowd, which initially people were outcensed at, and they started yelling back. But then the organizers, it took them a lot of effort, but they managed to get the attention back and restart the moment of silence. Let me tell you, the moment of silence, sitting there for almost 9 minutes in silence, it's a very powerful experience, and just the length of time that it takes is just like dawns on you how long that is. It's just incredible.
I can imagine, yeah.
So that was my experience there. It was there were roughly 3,000 people at that demonstration. There's ongoing demonstrations. There's one in my hometown on Monday. There's others, bigger demonstrations also planned for DC and New York. So it's ongoing, and I think it should be ongoing until actual changes are implemented, not just platitudes.
Right.
So it's similar to what you're experiencing in Düsseldorf, I guess.
Yes, I guess so. Yes, I get more information later today, and maybe some more video footage I can show maybe next week. We'll see.
What's next, guys?
All right.
What's next?
Okay, you got.
Thank you, Amos.
You got some more, Amos. You got something about a voting video, something like this.
Not a voting, but yeah. That's in my next segment. At the end of my segment, I just found this caricature to be really insightful and a good one. It's very poignant because with Trump's threat that he's going to send the military against U.S. citizens, it's a frightening perspective, and I think it would send many more people to the streets that are currently on the sidelines and not incensed. But if you think about it, it's an affront to the very conservative idea of state rights and liberty. And it would be hypocritical of anyone that's been conservative for the last few decades to finally to say that they support that, when all these years they've been very vehemently fighting for states' rights. So I think even sending the National Guard, which is probably the better route to take, if at all, but even doing that without invitation from the governors, in my opinion, is infringement on state rights and infringement on our democracy, and it's going in a very, very bad direction. And the fact that most of Trump's administration, past administration and current administration, is against it is very indicative. Of course, he's not going to listen to that, but we'll see where things go.
Yes, and he's disrespecting the flag, right? Taking a knee is disrespecting the flag.
Well, he's doing all kinds of things. It's just it's hard to keep track of all the.
But it seems that he is going to hold one promise that he gave, to bring the troops back home. But nobody would have expected it would be this way, right?
He's now engulfed the White House in a wall. Well, some people say it's a fence, but it's a fence and barricades, cement
It's a
barricades.
children's fence. It's a fence you put around a grade school when you're doing construction. It's ridiculous.
Yes,
it's a little with a little tiny gate and a little lock. So
if you look, please allow me the comparison. If you look back at the times, when the German Republic, the German Democratic Republic was founded, and they built a wall around the other part around East Germany, right? And this little White House, and he's building, he's completing to build his wall, but other than he has thought before,
Yeah, since he couldn't do it on the south border, I think he's at least
yes.
But did Mexico pay for it? That's the question.
And he's building, and this wall in the former German Democratic Republic was called the anti-fascistic wall, and he's building this now around the White House in some way. It's crazy.
And so everything's just so Orwellian, or more like Monty Python.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's a black comedy we have never seen. It's just
it is funny, but if you look at it from a bigger perspective, it's sickening and saddening that
it is.
Agreed.
It's a commentary that the White House has to protect itself from its own people. And that there's something wrong with that. If anybody can't see that there's something wrong with that, it's
but I want to correct everybody. Back up here. It is not just a White House. Congress is complicit. Congress is doing jack shit. Let's not hold this on the executive branch, because we have 3 fucking branches of government that are supposed to check each other, plus a 4th estate that's supposed to check for us. None of them working for us. None. There is not a fucking Democrat in power doing jack shit for us, and that includes Bernie fucking Sanders. Okay.
Oh, please,
so let's go.
Don't take my segment away, John. You will have your chance a little bit later again. But but all this, you said how bizarre it looks, and it looks it is dramatic, tragic, and funny. It is like, and I did this a couple of days ago. I watched The Great Dictator, and it is in somehow like watching The Great Dictator. Yeah.
It is.
The Charlie Chaplin
watching
movie.
Our friends die, so it's not a movie, and that's what
we
laugh about it and comfort.
No,
people dying,
No. But if you see the end message of this movie, right, where the complete drama, the complete tragic was in it, it is, the acting is crazy in parts. It is crazy funny, and then it's shocking, and you're sitting there and you cannot believe what you saw with your own eyes.
Right. So let's
talk
about.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I just want to but let's bring it to modern times. So we had Trump do a photo op with a Bible after gassing his own fucking people and pushing protesters away so he could make it to a church safely. The next day, Nancy Pelosi's response.
Please, no.
Come on.
Please, and this is exactly okay. We take over the sequence. Amos, you allow that we come back to you a little bit later. Okay, this is exactly the point what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry, did I steal your lead in? My bad.
No. It's okay. Amos, is it okay when you go to your to your part a little bit later?
Yes, it's an important discussion here.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Talk about
because
it. I didn't mean
exactly
to hijack it. Go where you want to go.
If I look at it, what has happened coming from the Democratic Party now is day 12 or 11 since it all began. And I only see lip service. I see a headline, and I got to put it here to read it out. A headline coming from the Senate Democrats. And the headline says, Schumer floor remarks on the killing of George Floyd. The need for bold actions on systemic racism and demanding Leader McConnell put a law enforcement reform bill on the Senate floor before the 4th of July. You know, I think alone the title it is ridiculous. It is all a giant bullshit. It's all a big nothing, you know? There is nothing happening. They are only doing lip service. They are having sad faces. As you said, you have Nancy Pelosi. The complete program of the Democrats is we are not Trump. You have Trump doing this photo op, and then the next day you have Nancy Pelosi doing the same fucking bullshit, and they're delivering no fucking message. Where is the message that they put a law on that gives during the time of crisis with coronavirus every fucking month amount X 2,000 or whatever it is necessary to survive to the families? No, they give their votes that what's left in America, what's left on money is going to the 1%, and to make sure that there is nothing left just in case it is not going well. And they're doing nothing against the Democrats. They're holding speeches. You have Chuck Schumer there. You have with his quote, with saying nothing. You have, and then you have Joe Biden. Joe Biden, the brilliant mind, which has the brilliant idea to say, you know, we have a lot to do. There has a lot to be changed in what police work concerns. Why don't they shoot the people in the legs instead in the chest?
That's actually the Democrats' new. That's their new slogan.
Okay, well, I have to say something about that, and that is, I checked into that because I was incensed when I heard that, and it turns out to be a complete spin in this case.
I watched the entire clip.
I watched it.
I watched the entire clip, and he does not say.
Yes, he does.
I gotta play.
He goes, an unarmed man with a knife comes at you. It's better to shoot him in the leg than to shoot him in the heart. He fucking said that. He said it's better to shoot him in the leg than he's advocating for shooting in the first place. That's the problem. He thinks like a fucking white man from the 90s. And he wrote the crime bill that started them shooting these people in the first place.
Yeah, but that's still a far distance from saying that he recommends shooting protesters.
Stop, John. Stop. Let him talk. Let him talk. Amos, please.
You're. Go ahead. But you're missing the point.
Okay. Sorry, Amos. In this case, I see completely like John, because it is completely not the message. It is not the time. It is the wrong message. You know, he should say clearly. In this point, we have nothing else to do right now than to reform police, and these are the points we have to do this to give the people trust in the police again, and not to advocating, you know, to hurt people less than before. This is not a solution. This is bullshit.
Amos, I want to hear Amos.
What do you say?
I want to hear Amos. I want to hear his full thought, because I think I know where he's going here. Go ahead, Amos, please.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it's a different thing to say that he's advocating shooting protesters in the legs. That's not what he was saying. He was answering a question relating to protecting from attack on policemen, and he was referring to training them not to shoot first at the person's body. And in a way, I mean, you do expect them to somehow protect themselves. I don't see.
Guess what? Bobbies don't carry guns.
No. Stop. Now it's Amos. Turn.
We're not allowed to interject at all?
Yeah, you can talk later.
Monologue? All right,
John, you can talk.
Fun.
You can answer later. Answer later, please. This is not okay. Go on, please, Amos.
I understand the outrage at the very idea that police use force, and I'm outraged every bit as much at abuses. But it's that specific criticism is, I think, is misplaced. I think he could have chosen to avoid this topic, maybe, but I don't see it as indication that he's completely off. I think the fact that he wants to create an agency that would monitor police abuse on a federal level, I think, is a very important step, and that hasn't been done before. And I think that's something that needs to be supported.
I appreciate
is one of the solutions.
Okay.
I absolutely appreciate where you're coming from, Almas. But I want to remind everybody that we have two things going on here. We have Joe Biden, a man who advocated in 1991 developing, or was it 99, a policeman's Bill of Rights. A policeman's Bill of Rights that protects them, shields them from possible actions that they may have taken either by mistake or on purpose. So that's Biden's mindset right here. My mindset, and I happen to align with some of Jimmy Dore's, what he said this week, and others, that the modern day police are trained to not serve and protect, but to mostly make sure they get home at night. And using that type of violence with a gun out of the gate, I have a big problem with that. Sure, they can defend themselves, but I don't think that's, and of course you will all agree that militarizing the police only foments more of this kind of thing, more of this kind of rhetoric, shoot them in the leg, instead of shoot them in the heart, which can be taken out of context. And I'm not saying this was spoken by somebody, in my opinion, that has not the mental cognizance at this time to run for office, much less president of the United States. So I'm going to only defend Joe Biden's what he said by his onset Alzheimer's or dementia. That was not leadership, in my opinion. And again, I don't think that our militarized police force is what we need this time, because we see the world burning up around us, and all we're getting to Marcus's point and John's, we're getting bread and circuses from both parties that own the world, and we know what bread and circuses is. It's a superficial appeasement to certain groups that are around the world, whether it's right wing or left wing or whatever, but there's no substance into a solution into that. And that's my opinion. That's just where I'm at. So yeah, point taken.
And we have to keep pushing. That's why we're doing those protests. We have to keep pushing them from behind to go where it's uncomfortable and when they may not want to go. But that's our role.
Yeah. I think this is the perfect time to go over, to the rest of your segment where you talk about what could be done, Almas.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say, and Jilly, I don't have selective hearing where it comes to Democrats. I just like to look at things as they are and be true to the facts. So
yeah, and we're not a choir. We're not a choir here, so we appreciate that, Almas.
Absolutely. And if I may remind our audience who know us from the years before, I know that many people were very furious at Scott when he came up with unpopular topics, right? And in the end, it turned out he was often right. So please don't let everyone speak. Everyone has. In this platform, everyone should have his voice, his opinion, and most importantly, I think everybody should have the chance to speak out. And everybody on the other hand will have the chance or has a chance here to answer. But I think it is no discussion culture to interrupt each other. And this is what I want to say about this. And Almas, please go on.
Okay, so basically, I was concerned with what can we do, because there's a lot of outrage and a lot of emotions and everything, but basically it will have to be streamed into some action, and so I looked at it, and there's some things, concrete things that can be done, concrete reforms. One of them is the prior disciplinary record transparency. In New York, I believe it's Act 50A. And that's important in order to expose these people who are perpetrators. For example, Chauvin, that guy that killed Floyd, had many prior records. And that only comes out now. He should have been disciplined, and that's going to also create more pressure on the police departments to let those people go. The other thing is preferably a federal oversight agency investigating alleged misconduct and abuses, and that's something that Biden has floated up as something that he would seek to do. And I think that is important because right now there is no such oversight, and even if it didn't happen on the federal level, let's say we're under a Trump administration or whatever, I think it should be the attorney general that has an independent investigation right over all of these events. But that's limited, as we know, because we know from Klobuchar and other prosecutors that they've missed prosecuting those that were involved in such abuses. So that's of limited effect. In the next round of them is there's no choke holes of any type, and that's important. I don't know why it has to be stated. It's so obvious, but nevertheless, it's crucial because that's not the case right now. Community policing is a very important one, and that is something that actually has been implemented. For example, in New Jersey, in certain places like Camden, where police community relationship were atrocious, and in Newark, where there's been a big protest in the 60s where half the city was burned down. There were current protests there which were extremely peaceful, and the reason was that there's much better relationship between the police right now in those places and the community. And unlike other places where the police has it seems like the police was doing a theatrical PR stunt by taking the knee and stuff. In Camden and in Newark, I believe it was sincere, and you could see that from the people that participated and from the fact that there's no violence erupting now. So community policing is a big one. Stop equipping local police with militarized weapons, and that's something that Oz and you guys mentioned, and it's another big one because it's reversing a trend that's been going on, and that's frankly being pushed by the military industrial complex to make money off of these stunt grenades and tear gas and whatever that may be. On the federal level, there's a qualified immunity that's currently presented to police officers, and that means that basically, if it's not enough to charge a police officer with misconduct, you have to show that they have done something that was considered illegal action from a previous case, previous known precedent in their locale. So the likelihood of that happening is very low, and on this ground, a lot of these cases get tossed out of court, which is infuriating. The Supreme Court has spoken, and they are going to take that law up, and it looks like it may be struck down because there is a unusual coordination between Judge Thomas and Judge Sotomayor from both ends of the court, and they're both suggesting that these laws should be nulled. On the political spectrum, there's also the Democratic Party has suggested, in spite of whatever you've said before, you have to look at that as well, that they have suggested a reform bill that includes striking the qualified immunity from the legislative point of view. So there's some action on that ground. And finally, there's implementation of, there was a report that was done during Obama's time that was commissioned by his administration, where leaders from both law enforcement, academia, social organizations, and so forth have put together this study based on hard data and very thought out argumentations, and they have a whole list of suggestions to implement. Unfortunately, those have to be implemented primarily on the local level. So it's not something that can be pushed from the federal level in that case. But it's called the 21st century, the Task Force for 21st Century Policing report, and I suggest you can download it. I have a link in the comments below. You can download it and look at it. It's important to know. There's a lot of different suggestions. So in terms of our action, what we can do is we have to apply the pressure where it belongs. For federal level, we have to apply pressure for qualified immunity issues and for the national oversight. And for the disciplinary record opening, the independent investigations and chokehold ban, on implementation of the community policing task force lessons, on those we have to press the local level, the state level. And I really strongly suggest all of us write letters and pressure and call them out in protest and so forth to finally proceed and implement that.
Okay.
You're on mute.
No, I'm not. I'm not muted.
No, he just said it softly because he's a soft-spoken gentleman.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Amos. A heated discussion around all this, especially when when the question we answered, when we answered Nancy Pelosi's question about is it time to heal? Obviously not. We're coming to the next segment, which is also very, very, worrying. And it seems there was an article yesterday came up in the Huffington Post in which coronavirus masks were seized by the police. And as you can see, they had a special print on it, "Stop Killing Black People." It came from the Black Lives Matter movement. And until now, there is no real explanation how this could happen. It is only known that the police, that the law enforcement seized them. There is no comment from the postal service, they were sent by.
That's a constitutional violation right there. They can't do that. That's
exactly. But this brings me back to today in history when we're talking about Ed Snowden, right?
Right.
And this is exactly how glassy we are, that they know what we are sending where, and if they want to, they can do whatever.
Julian Assange, Bradley Manning, all of them. I mean, they're just shitting all over our rights before our eyes, and I'm sympathetic to that, and I feel the way you and John and almost many of us do. They can't do that. Rule of law is one thing, but it can't be their rules of law or how they interpret them. This has got to stop, and if we don't stop it now, it's going to run out of control as it is before our eyes.
Exactly. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I was always hesitant when it came to comparison with Nazi Germany. Of course, there are big difference. Of course, there are, But if you look at the beginning, the little step that we're taking, and the confidence which has risen on the right hand side, on those fascist side, the openness in which they think that they are on the right side, and it is a very, very dangerous time, yes. And we everywhere, if not the US, we cannot let this go. Everywhere, we have to stand up against it.
Amos, you were smiling. What?
Yes,
I said they are on the right side, but not on that.
I know. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Amos. Yeah, and exactly standing up brings me exactly to our final segment for today. In which I would like we don't have to talk about the rest, it is already said. We are talking about a guy who really impressed me. And I was watching his videos for a year or so when I found him. And he's a black guy, and he is observing police. He's an activist, and he knows his rights. He knows his amendment rights. And he brings himself regularly into danger. Is that
Big Nick? Is that Big Nick almost?
Big Nick, okay, exactly. It's Big Nick. Big Nick. He has his own channel on YouTube. It is called Big Nick South Florida Accountability. I can only ask you to watch his videos. Sometimes I gotta warn you. Sometimes he uses explicit language, but obviously, in my opinion, it's the only language some of those cops understand. And I think it's very impressive how he deals with them, you know. And of course, he was arrested several times, but got out again after a little time. And it is so important, and it shows how important it is to have a camera running as a black man and knowing your rights. I heard last week, I heard a story about someone, a white guy who had a friend. I don't know exactly who it was, but he said it was Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura said it. You know, he was talking about a black friend, and he was visiting him at night, and they both decided to leave the place where they were. And then he noticed that on the dashboard of his friend's car, he saw everything was put there. His driver's license, his identity card, every paper, every document he would need, just in case he would come into a car control by police. He would be stopped by police. He said it. I want to have it ready of any idea that I would make a wrong move, you know, that they would kill me. Jesse Ventura was shocked by this because he has never thought about this, you know. Of course not. He's a white guy, just like we never knew what how a black man feels. We never would experience the same. Those people, the black community experiences every day. And well, this guy, he addresses this, and he makes the cops regularly do the walk of shame. And I got one example, and I hope you like it. And please support him. Please support Big Nick. And he's a good guy. And yes. Can you run it, please?
Yeah, I've seen this clip. It's good. It's kind of an extended clip. We're going to let it go, though. It's really
not the complete one. We will stop after a little bit after 4 minutes.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Big Nick, man.
I'll tell you my name if you tell me your name.
That's not how it works. You address me, you're a member of the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Your policy is to identify yourself when you come in contact with a member of the public. What's your name and your badge number?
I just thought I'd ask your name first. My name's Officer Siegel, 1728.
Thank you.
Yep. What we're going to ask of you, you're allowed to film, but we need you on the opposite side.
No, sir. No, you don't.
Yeah, we do.
No, I'm on the public sidewalk. You have no authority over me.
So,
get back in your car, you're dismissed. Leave me alone.
It's not the way it works.
That's the way it's going to work
you're
today.
Also on camera, too.
It's going to work today like that. So, no, I'm on the public sidewalk conducting a First Amendment activity.
Not on this sidewalk.
Yeah, this is a public sidewalk, sir. Well, what you going to do about it if I don't go across the street?
You're going to be warned of trespassing, and you're going to be arrested. Well, I'll be patient with you.
No need to be patient because I'm not going across the street.
Well, I'm going to continue, and I'm going to ask for your name.
And you're not going to get it. Again. You're not going to get it.
Okay.
Well, Big Nick South Florida Accountability.
What?
Big Nick South Florida Accountability. YouTube me.
Huh? Yeah. I think so, yeah. Huh? Is it this sidewalk or that sidewalk?
It's either sidewalk, Siegel. It's either sidewalk that I pay for. It's either sidewalk in public, sir. Either one, sir. Either sidewalk that I pay for, Siegel. Hey, Siegel, I can even come up here, Siegel. Look, I can even be right here, Siegel. I can even be right here, Siegel. Look, I can even come over here. I can even come over here, Siegel. I can even come right here, Siegel. Yeah, I can, Siegel. I can. This is city property. I can. There's utilities. I can. This is public property, Siegel. This is public property, sir. Do not make up your own laws. Do not make up your own rules, Siegel. Yeah, this is public property. Yeah, it is. It is. It is, Siegel. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. You can get all the calls you want, Siegel. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. You're dismissed. That's called a walk of shame, what you're doing right there. You are dismissed. Do not come back and aggravate me again while I'm doing the story, okay? Can you keep a secret? Can you keep a secret? Me too. You're dismissed, Siegel. Go try to intimidate somebody else. It don't work here. You didn't address me, so I won't identify you. Thank you for your professionalism. That's called a walk of shame.
Yeah, that's a walk of shame. I'm very happy that I got to see that. Thank you, Marcus. I'm unhappy that it went the way it did. It should not have had to go that way at all. We lost Marcus, or excuse me, we lost Amos.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. We lost Amos for a moment, and I muted myself. Well, it was one of the milder videos. There are much more harder videos from him. In which he really gets into the cops under the cop skin, and but most of them are too long, and this was only to give an impression on how he approaches them. And of course, I know that he is one of some activists on the internet who are doing this. There are a lot of them also doing this at the borders, which are miles away from the real borders to other countries, to Mexico maybe, and they are demanding to identify yourself, and which is completely unlawful and is against the First Amendment, and they are provoking them. Of course, it is meant as a provocation, but if you see in many cases how cops approach him, Big Mike, Big Nick, or others, and you can see by their walk, the way they're approaching him, by talking to him, by the gesture, they are trying from the start to intimidate them, and and he takes them volley, and he says, "What's your name? What's your badge number?" And okay, they are stunned, and it is good to see. In South Florida, where he is mostly around, he's already known, and you can see this from the direction of some cops. When they see he's around, then they know how to behave, and it is it has much to change, and but it's good. It is good to have guys like this around, and I donated to him also, and to make him keep up his great work, in my opinion.
Welcome back, Amos. Did you bring us all coffee?
Thank you. No, I had a power failure for.
Oh, gee whiz! It's not surprising.
I wanted to touch on something else that goes with that little video, the short video that I put there. If you could cue that up.
Which one?
But there's been a debate, and on all of these protests, these young folks. And they're almost entirely young, which I find very inspiring, actually. But these young folks have been harping on one point and making it clear. And they emphasize, if you want to change things, go vote.
Is
Yeah,
it is it
so-
is it the? It's not the Clifton, New Jersey one. Which one is it? The L.
It is yes, it's the video from New Jersey, the one that you have your yes.
Right there. Okay, let me square it in, and you want me to run it right now?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. Clifton, New Jersey. Let's make sure I get sound going here.
This is what I mean when I say we are not just here for a social media platform. They're just here for a social media platform. You hear altercation and you look.
Okay, that's it.
Oh, what happened? No, it goes on. Well, basically she says you have to, if you're not voting, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. Go out and vote. And there's been a debate in progressive circles about it, and people saying, well, it's not enough to vote because the representatives don't necessarily do anything. And I wanted to address that because in some way that's true, but on another, we're at the point where we're really fighting for our whatever is left from our democracy, and as imperfect and as far from our ideal these politicians on the left side are, they're still better than the danger of losing our democracy with things that resemble authoritarianism in the stuff that Trump is pushing. So, you know, I would say yes. I think we have to hold our noses in some cases and vote and keep pushing and keep, at least those people are more malleable to public pressure from the left than the people on the right. I think we have to hold our noses, vote, and in some cases, and then keep pushing them.
Honestly, I don't think it's an either or. I think I agree with what you say, you know, but that's been the rhetoric, and I'm going to call it rhetoric, for over the years. We're going to have to vote. Get out and vote. That's kind of a social conditioning. But what I'm saying, and I need to advocate for those who say my vote doesn't matter or whatever. They're pissed off. But to abdicate your vote is just giving up another place where we could push back, in my opinion. We need to stand up and do everything instead of just giving them free ground. It's like getting inside the Democratic Party. You're just going to walk away and not vote. You're just going to walk away and let them get away with everything. So, yeah, in that respect, I do absolutely agree with you. But what I think the overall point, and Marcus, I'll make this as quick as possible, when we protest, when we have these so-called gatherings and we're showing what's happening, we have to have a purpose. We can't just have a walk for a million-man march without demands. We are going into these things, a woman's march, without demands. I feel like we're trying to shame those who are viewing this into support and not giving them, saying, hey, we don't want the police to be militarized. Take that away. We don't want Wall Street to be the recipient of trillions of dollars. They need to articulate that, because if you just see a lot of people, it's whoa. But if you don't have any context to what they're doing or what their demands are or why they're out there, it's going to get lost and you're not going to make any progress. I hope that wasn't too convoluted, but that's how I see it.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Well, I would like to add also the discussion you just brought up is also happening. I saw a video yesterday from Karl Kulinski from Secular Talk, who was he said himself, you know, that he won't Biden, 99% he wouldn't for Biden, you know, and yesterday or the day before he came up, he thought, the scenery completely changed.
Yeah, it did.
And this also brought me into thinking. The game changer was when Trump brought up the military, to bring in the military in the country. And then I'm asking myself, you have to consider what would happen if Trump would be reelected. Would democracy, or what is left of democracy, would it survive another 4 years? Or would you vote for a demented guy from a fucked up Democratic Party, with the hope that democracy would continue, and maybe I know the lesser evil question again, and to hope that maybe we come into a situation where we can make a change, but still live in a kind of democracy, right? Because when and this is exactly what I'm worried about, because police is out of control, military in the country. Trump would not go away from would not retire or would resign or something. He would stay there. And what would be the difference from a dictatorship or authoritarian regime like in China or in like Russia? What would be the difference?
Almost.
Don't tell me about elections. You can wipe your ass with the ballots then.
Amos. Yeah. What do you think about what Marcus just said? I've got a really good comeback, but go right ahead, please.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I think that to your point, Marcus, you're right. I mean, but how did we get to hell in the first place here with the likes of Trump? And if you bring Biden into this, if you say you elect Biden, what have you accomplished? Have you put gasoline or kindling on something that's going to get us worse than Trump, who in fact looks like Mussolini with his posturing? I think he models himself after that guy. But that's just the optics. What's really happening is what we're all concerned of. If we vote Trump out and accept Biden as our surrogate placebo to put a Band-Aid on everything, that Band-Aid is just going to get dry and brittle and crack. And what's underneath that festering pustule that is our society today is going to explode and give us more than we bargained for by putting a Band-Aid. So we need real solutions, and getting into the streets and saying we're not going to do this, exercising democracy as it was meant to be done, is what we need to do. A bunch of light-skinned guys in a room on a Saturday know that, and I know that everybody watching this gets what we're articulating. We can't sit back and eat McNuggets and watch the world burn. Armchair quarterbacking isn't going to do it, and we have a lot of testament to that in this day and age.
I disagree that it's worse to put Biden in office. I don't, as you know, I'm not a fan of his at all, and I'm very disappointed by that. But on the other hand, the policies that he and his other administration people would support is very different than that of Trump, and at the point where we're really at an actual danger of losing democracy entirely, I think we need to take the measures, whatever, to stop that, to put the brakes on that, and later figure out how to get them to accept our worldview and what needs to be done to address these ills in our politics and in our society, and I think we will continue to do so, and we have a big role, both the independent media and people on the ground, the grassroots. That's not going anywhere. Those people on the streets that are out there in showing solidarity, that's not going anywhere. Those are people who are going to continue to push, even if it's not Bernie Sanders who's president.
What policies are you talking about, Amos? I'm not totally disagreeing with you, but when you say Biden has policies that I think you said they're more functional than Trump. Okay, well, what policies are they? Are they like the crime bill?
Well, for example, striking out the immunity, creating the stuff that we spoke about, creating a national agency that would oversee police abuse on the local level.
Would that be a task force?
Doing what's that?
Would that be like a task force? Or an actual agency? Or an actual
not a task force. I think that he's talking about an actual agency, kind of like the credit agency would have jurisdiction.
Okay, I'll buy it for a second.
I would break it down to an important question: the Supreme Court. I don't know of the old lady. I don't know her name. She had several cancer surgeries already. She has a very old age right now. And the Supreme Court, it was for me, it was one of the only valid arguments in 2016 to vote for Hillary Clinton. Being worried about the Supreme Court picks, that would come from the Republican side, as it happened. And we have the same situation today. And this is a game changer. You will have a society created for decades, which would prevent any progressive moves. And I don't know. I have no advice what to do. Right? I cannot tell you go vote for Biden. I mean, I'm a German. You absolutely don't listen to me anyway. But I cannot tell. If I were in your place at this time, I would not know what to do. I would not know if I would vote for Biden or say fuck it. I don't know.
We don't have a luxury to say fuck it. In my opinion,
this is
I would not disagree with that. We don't have the luxury to say fuck it. But is there another way that we can do something to make change, to actually again, it goes back to my point of we can't just walk away and give them that turf. What we might get out of this election cycle in November in the United States is, okay, so we put Biden in. Is Trump willing to go peacefully into the night, or is he going to say this is all fake, the election was rigged, all this? And this is a concern that the mainstream media has been throwing out there, building up in our heads, and I see a lot of it. But, I call bullshit on a lot of this too, because in my mind, I can't see the GOP letting Trump get away with that, the conservative elements, because there's too many people packing heat these days. They're buying bullets right and left. They're not going to let anybody take over their country, and I believe that includes Trump. So I think that if Biden gets not enough votes to win or to beat Trump, that Trump will leave office. That's what I'll leave you with here today. I think he's not going to try and become the dictator of the next incarnation of the United States.
I hope we won't see it, and if so, I hope you're right in the end, Oz.
God, I hope I do too.
That they would prevent it.
Marcus, I put up the point of contention here. If you wanted to play it, it's a 137. Just is there enough context in that? Is there?
I know. I think most of our viewers know what he says, and they know also the video. I think it's not necessary.
Okay, that's fine.
To have this full.
Yeah, I don't want to foment because everybody got passionate about this. But again, if you don't have the whole thing, it's hard to get the full context. This just
okay. Then run it.
Yeah, I don't think this is the full thing, but let's run it. And
no. It's a short one. It's a short.
Okay, let's run it just for the grins.
It's going to be a really very, very important part.
It's hard to hear.
Whether or not we're going to end up making a difference. And I will be setting up we announced meetings as we go. In the first 100 days, police oversight board coming out of the United States. What we did in our administration is we set up in the Justice Department the ability for the Civil Rights Division to go in and look at the practices and policies of police departments. That's why we were able to stop and frisk and reestablish that with more teeth in it. Because we also have to fundamentally change the way in which police are trained. Police are trained much more. And by the way, there are a lot of people, overwhelmingly it's African Americans who've been victimized, shot, and there's a lot of other people who shot and killed in the Hispanic community and the white community. And the idea that instead of standing there and teaching a cop when there's an unarmed person to coming at him with a knife or something, to shoot him in the leg instead of in the heart, is a very different thing. There's a lot of different things that can change. And talking to an awful lot of police, the former police commissioner Ramsey, we had, there's a lot that can be done. A lot that can be done.
I think that got the body of what he said. I'm still convoluted in my thinking on where he was coming from, but it sure sounded like old school logic to me.
It was a remake of Obama's Change. No, I'm kidding, man. He was talking about change in this connection, that it would be better to...
That's change? Okay.
Yes, that's change in Biden's opinion. Or a part of a change. I will not say it's completely. Well, nothing else to add for this one. Do you guys have anything to add?
No, Amos, you got anything to add? We've ran very long today, and
Yes,
John
yes.
must be out helping Laura with the garden. He's not back yet. No, overall, I think there's a lot of good content in here. And again, I don't see this. I enjoy doing the show because we're not a choir, and neither are the people who follow us. So that's
this
good.
is important, and I think it is not dramatic because our viewers know John, and we know especially this topic is something which he has to deal with for a long time, and I know him, and we know that that it's very hard for him to deal with those topics, without getting into a rage or ranting, and I hope we will see him next week and everything will be okay.
I'm sure we will. We will. I know he's a busy guy, but this 10 o'clock spot on Saturday morning, a lot of great folks in here. We Jilly and Shanda's in there, and Al. Hi, Al. Pat, Franklin. Let me just do the card here. Wesley Walls, Jeffrey Pearson, Barbara, and so many others that I just can't name. But again, it's been a great discussion. Thank you, Amos, Marcus. Yes. I really appreciate you allowing me to join in.
Thank you all for watching and being with me. Dennis could not be here with us today. There was an accident with his grandma. I hope she's doing all right, and sending greetings from here. And he'll be next week with us. Amos will be next week with us, I hope. Aus will be with us, I hope. And I hope also John. And we are going out with a brand new song coming from Run the Jewels, RTJ. And we all know that Killer Mike is in it, and LP. And the new album is free for download. And they are asking for a donation, which would go to a supporting organization in favor of the Black community. And of course, the song is political, as most of the songs which both are doing. And I hope you enjoyed this. And please follow the link below, which leads you direct to the website where you can order and download the album for free, as I said. And please donate also to them. Yes. And if you got some cents left, it would be also great if you could send us a little bit for us, that we can go on and get all our costs covered, And thank you all for watching. It was great to be here, and see you next week. And I hope you enjoy the song RTJ, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dirty code to go, been cold since cold flow. Got a wire to enlarge and I set a fire down below. I hang it up when you say sorry, didn't know. Probably got a year 10 to go, so let's go. I don't really know how to go slow.
Just got done walking in the snow.
Goddamn, that motherfucker's cold. Hey, you in the wrong mode, you open and close, holes, no go. This whole world's a shit mode, built to the brim like Gitmo. When you think it don't get mowed low, with limbo to the sticks on flow. All oppression's born of lies, I don't make the rules, I'm just one guy. All due respect of getting spit on's how respect is now defined. Hungry for truth, but you got screwed and drank the Kool-Aid. There's a line, it ends directly at the edge of a mass grave that's their design. Funny fact about a cage, they're never built for just one group. So when that cage is done with them and you still pour it, come for you. The newest, lowest on the totem, with golly G you have been used. You have to build a death machine that down the line will kill you too. Pseudo-Christians, y'all are different. Kids in prisons ain't the same shit. Even one scrap of what Jesus taught connected, you feel different. With a disingenuous way to piss away existence, I don't get it. I say you lost your goddamn minds if y'all possess one to begin with.
Just got done walking in the snow. Goddamn that motherfucker cold. Just got done walking in the snow. Goddamn that motherfucker cold. Just got done walking in the snow. Goddamn that motherfucker cold. Just got done walking in the snow. Goddamn that motherfucker cold. Yeah, ho, gangsta boo, run the jewel. We back on our shit, and it's cold as fuck.
The way I see it, you probably free us from the ages 1 to 4. Around the age of 5, you shipped away for your body to be stored. They promise education, but really they give you tests and scores. And they predicting prison population by who's scoring the lowest. And usually the lowest scores the poorest, and they look like me. And every day on the evening news, they feed your fear for free. And you so numb, you watch the cops choke out a man like me. Until my voice goes from a shriek to whisper, I can't breathe. And you sit there in house on couch and watch it on TV. The most you give is a Twitter rant and call it a tragedy. But truly the travesty, you've been robbed of your empathy, replaced it with apathy. I wish I could magically fast forward the future so then you can face it and see how fucked up it'll be. I promise I'm honest. faith bracelet.